Conversation now. We've seen Nigeria's been grappling with a persistent food inflation crisis throughout 2024, significantly impacting household budgets and the overall economy. As the Yuletide season is upon us at this point, concerns are mounting about the potential for further price increases and their impact on consumer spending. Joining us to unpack this now, we have Mr. Tunde Banjoko, as the Managing Director Banjoko Farms, joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you. Good morning.
Thank you, Laddie. Good morning.
I hope you're feeling the Christmas vibe somehow. Compliments of the season. And so I'm sure you've seen the developments with petrol. You know, at this point, it seems we're going sub 1,000 naira. Yeah. And I don't know if we're starting to feel the impact on the farms.
No, we can't yet.
Not yet.
Of course, it started today.
Right.
So I think the price 935 starts today.
Right.
So of course we can't feel it today in the market.
So I'm sure, you know,
hopefully if that can be
sustained
for some time, it should have some little effect.
Little
because I said little because looking at what did we start with at the beginning of the year, 670, 650, we went as high as 1,100. Now going back to 935, would have just been. We can't go back to where we were in January. So except we go back to where we started in January, then we can see a significant effect.
What would you say is the ideal price that we should be looking at per liter?
200
that would
naira.
drive the prices down significantly.
Maybe
let's not be Oliver Twist. Let's say realistic.
We should go back to like a 400-500 naira per liter. That's when we can see like a significant shift in the cost of produce. Because you ask yourself, how does this fuel affect us in the agric sector, for example? Is in transportation. So a trip that I was to bring a truck from Jos last week, and I was charged 1.8 million from Jos to Abeokuta. So if you are just removing 20 naira, 17 naira, thereabout, it might not give you that huge margin. But assuming it's half the price, then instead of paying 1.8 million, I'll be paying maybe 900 a million. And that's when the customers can also have the best of price.
And I guess it's quite tough for CNG to act as that alternative for most of these.
I think there was even in the paper today, the tanker drivers were protesting kind of that they've been excluded from the CNG arrangement. So if they can include the tanker drivers, the big lorries into that CNG arrangement, that's when we can also start seeing that shift. Yeah.
Do you think we should start exploring maybe subsidy for logistics when it comes to agricultural sector? How would that work really?
How it will work or how it will start is by looking at the vehicles we use for agricultural transportation, for example. We use trailers most times, and these trailers work on diesels. So if we can move them to cheaper source of fuel like CNG, if we could start using train to move our product, this will be a good alternative to drastically. But as long as we are using petrol to move this product, using diesel, and we are still buying at this current rate, we'll still be struggling with this.
So to just paint a picture for me, so far this season, moving goods from the farms to the market, what's it, looking like?
It's been challenging, like the example I just gave, it's been challenging because of cost. So you have clients who would have bought more, but because of cost, they are turning down orders. Because by the time they add the logistics to what they have in mind, the budget is not adding up. So it's made transaction a bit slower. So you also look at the Agric. Look at how much they are selling chicken yet now, average of 20 to 35,000 naira for one. So how many people can afford it at this time? So this period, some people, challenged me in church yesterday and said, why is it this high? I said, it's really not the fault of the farmers. It's the input going into the feed of these birds. That is. So this season, and a lot of farmers too, they are not happy selling at these rates. That's the truth. And what people also don't know is that farmers are also not making profits, even at these high rates. That's the irony of the whole thing.
Because most of the time, you feel like there's some kind of profiteering, also going on, even though we know input.
But the input has really, let's give an example of maize, which is a major component of feed. Maize at the beginning of the year was average of 430, 420,000 per ton. Now doing about 750, 800,000 per ton, just in 1 year. So demand is low, but the inputs into the production is what is really causing this stuff. You also look at rice. At the beginning of the year, local rice now was about 45,000 per bag. Now it's doing about 95,000. But farmers are not making any huge profits. Most farmers are barely surviving at this time.
Right, because I miss the taste of live chicken.
Farmers, I'm sure the farmers wish they could just give out the chicken as cheap, as affordable as possible. But the cost of input at this time, and you also look at, I'm involved in this thing, you look at the cost of funds for those who even try to produce, the cost of fund is not cheap.
All right, let's look at the budget now. Okay. For 2025, we know where the majority of the money is going to. That's the defense and all of that. But looking at the 2024 budget, it was about 362.9 billion naira. That was budgeted for Agric, for the agricultural sector. That's about 1.32%. Okay, so looking at the 2025 proposal at this point, what do you think should be going into agriculture? We're seeing defense still getting a major chunk. Should it still be that way?
No, they've given us the budget already, 862 going to Agric.
862
billion. And it's still about...
So it's above,
No, in terms of percentage, it's still about 1.3 or 1.2%. So it's not that we've gotten any significant increase. For example, as a farmer, I'm not happy with that budget on two grounds. One, about 10 ministries got above 1 trillion. Agri should have gotten above 1 trillion. That's number one. Some ministries that I'm wondering, they don't do budget, they don't do projects. Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, and all that. So why would they even be getting more than Agric? Agric will split their budget into research institutions, universities, and then the ministry itself take a quota of it and then plow back maybe 20-30% into production, which is always low. I think something we've been clamoring on for years is this Maputo and Malabo declaration that give at least 10%. I was thinking minimum Agric should have gotten 2.5 trillion from this current budget if we are really serious about changing the numbers. If ministries who are probably not doing project and stuff like that just for overhead are getting above 1 trillion, then the ministry we are so concerned about, I looked at the 2023 revenue from Agric exports, from our exports. We made about 1.23 trillion from Agric. 3% thereabout over foreign earning. So that kind of ministry should be given more attention, in my own opinion. But
seeing that, it's been said that security is a major issue.
Security, fine. Infrastructure, fine.
Agriculture,
health, fine. Education,
so if they solve those problems, would that should
it will have effect.
Have an impact?
No. Definitely, solving insecurity issue will have significant effect in our production. So that's why I'm not objecting to the funding. The only issue I have with that is that implementation, because they've been getting all sort of high allocation, and yet we are still battling with this thing for years. So I'm also just looking at implementation. And then my own concern also will be, while 862 billion is not enough, I'm also now more interested in the implementation, execution, because that's always been the gap. Not even the amount. It has always been, for me, the gap.
Like, how is that money realistically spent?
That's really the gap. And you look at the promises in the last, I'm not going to even go back to the last 10 years. Let's just look at 2022, 2023, 2024. First quarter 2022, Nigeria did this, green imperative project for years now. We are expecting tractors from Brazil. Till now, first quarter 2022, the then president said the tractors will be here now. 2022 gone, the administration ended. Sometimes this year, August, the president said the equipment from Brazil, Belarus, the US, they're almost, as if they're on the IC almost here. But 4 months after, we can't see them. We're talking of mechanization, but we can't see this equipment. You also look at rural infrastructure. There's this new $500 million from World Bank. We are dropping 100 million. So, but we keep asking, and I'm shocked seeing that 16 states already participating. I'm wondering, where are the roads? Where are they doing them? So I'm more concerned about implementation. I mean, if we can start working on, last year also the president said 500,000 hectares will be cultivated. After some months, the minister said 246,000 has been cultivated. They did cassava in 30 states, grains in 15 states. If this thing truly had been done, I'm not sure we should be where we are.
Right. And, talking about where we are, right now, what should we be taking? As 2024 is winding down, going into 2025, seeing that the president's projecting about 15% inflation, and hopefully lower food inflation, going into 2025. What should we be doing from now into 2025 so we have a better Christmas in 2025?
So I think the first thing is just to focus on implementation. I think there's too much talk, like I said. And, the president was also very optimistic in August. I think during the strike, during the protest, they're about to say, we are not even just doing 500,000 hectares. We are doing 10 million hectares. That's very ambitious. If we do even 500 to 1 million hectares, we shouldn't be experiencing what we're experiencing now, because we should be able to push up production. So if we can push up production, not allocating resources to just recurrent expenditures, salaries, overhead, if we can push more into production and be sincere about it, I think, to me, the measure of any industry is not the paper or what you say, is what the people, the beneficiaries, the consumers are saying. Like in some other ministries now, maybe I should give an example if I'm allowed. You look at the Minister of Interior said, after this time, passport issuance will be this way. After some months, passport issuance was after that order. People now giving testimony that, no, I had to go to Abeokuta to do my last renewal because of the bureaucracy. But now you can apply. The procedure is simple and easy. So that's the same thing. This thing is not rocket science. So that's what I struggle with. To bring down the cost of food in Nigeria is not rocket science. All we need to do is implementation. All that have been allocated. We also talk about the dams, that they want to work on the dams, the water infrastructure, but we are not seeing all this come to play. Right. So if we can, to make 2025 different from 2024, we'll look at how we can allocate more into direct production. If the feed, like I made an example of feed, can come from 750, 740 and reduce to maybe 400. Look at the last policy talking about removing tariff from some imported product. But that was just for 6 months, which ended already in December. And before even December, it took about a month or two fine-tuning the papers.
Right.
So how would you not have
the government is definitely big, on ambition, and we definitely hope that we'll get bigger on implementation.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's Mr. Tunde Banjoko, who is the Managing Director of Banjoko Farms. Thank you for joining us and wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Same to you and to Arch and Esteem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, what to expect? That's for investments in 2025. That's our next conversation. Just stay with us.